So Melanie Phillips has been reflecting on the October 7th anniversary that we have today. And we saw the world change really in the aftermath. Or I wouldn't necessarily even say change, but rather we suddenly saw exposed so many of the moral perversions that lie at the core of the Israeli-Arab conflict and the way it's perceived, and the hostility that Israel faces. And here she explains that what we saw is that slaughtered Israelis get in the way of the anti-Israel narrative. That's what we saw on October 7th. I want to show you what she said on the Trigonometry podcast. Have a watch.
Slaughtered Israelis get in the way of the narrative, and nothing can get in the way of the narrative, by which I mean this. The narrative is that Israel is fundamentally illegitimate because it was created as a result of Western imperialism by taking Jews who had no connection with the land except in their Bible, which nobody takes seriously, taking them as a result of the Holocaust and putting them into Palestine, where they displaced the indigenous people of the land, and those that remain they have oppressed ever since. That is the narrative. Every single part of that narrative is not just wrong, it is not just a lie, it is a lie that reverses the truth and writes the Jews out of their own history. We can talk.
I would also add, by the way, not just reverses, but actually the very opposite is true. And what they accuse Israel of, they are themselves guilty of.
Talk about that if you want in more detail.
Why don't you tell us the details of why that's wrong?
Okay, but let me just finish my thought, which is that narrative defines the Western liberal. It makes the Western liberal think, I am a good and moral person, and the evidence of my being a good and moral person devoted to the betterment of mankind is that I defend the oppressed, who are the Palestinians, against the oppressor, who are the Israelis. So if you have Israelis, as you had on October the 7th, who are slaughtered, raped, beheaded, burned alive, and kidnapped to be tortured, raped, and murdered by the people that I, as the morally perfect person, have been supporting, that can't be. Because if I were to admit that happened, I would no longer be a moral person. Worse, I would be agreeing with the people who oppose me, who are bad and evil people, who are the right. I would become right-wing. That cannot happen. So I must deny it. So I must say, they weren't raped. There's no evidence of that. Or, murdered? Yeah, but like, they brought it on themselves. Hamas, mass murderers? No. Resistance, they're resisting the colonizer. Genocide? It's the Israelis who are committing genocide. Here are the Israelis who are faced with a true genocidal enemy who say in terms, our intention is to destroy Israel and murder every Jew on the planet. Okay? That's not just what the Hamas say. It's not just what the Hezbollah say. It's what the Palestinian Authority tells its children. No one in the liberal West can ever admit that, because for decades they have hung their moral personality on supporting that cause. Now, why do I say it's the reverse? Because...
Now, I'm actually going to pause it there, because we'll get into a whole separate topic about how everything's been reversed. This particular point she's making, that people simply can't admit it. They can't admit that there was an evil committed by Hamas on October 7th, etc., is because, precisely as she says, it upends the whole narrative that they've had. Think about it. If your whole worldview is centered around the Palestinians have a legitimate grievance and Israel is just getting understandable resistance, then that's going to be how you explain away everything. But if you understand the actual truth, which was that what Israel faced was never a legitimate grievance, it was actually a hateful, jihadist, anti-Semitic ideology from the very start, because the hostility to Israel's existence began before there was any displacement from the Arabs that the Arabs had, before there was any occupation, before there were any of these things. Israel left Gaza in 2005. They say, well, what happened? They blockaded Gaza, so of course there's... No, the blockade, which was really just censoring for weapons, they still allowed things in and out of there, but that only occurred 2 years later in 2007. So they voted Hamas in the meantime. The narrative gets upended. They get the chicken and the egg the wrong way round. Their narrative is, Israel is mean, therefore what do you expect? They get resistance by the Palestinians. Actually turns out it's the other way around. The Arabs are hostile to Jews, or the Jewish people being as equals to them, the Jewish people having some level of sovereignty in their ancient homeland. They have an anti-Semitic theological narrative. And so therefore, they are going to be hostile. They're going to do things to attack Israel, to threaten their survival. And then when Israel responds to protect herself, they suffer and then they cry wolf. They say, oh, look how we're suffering, and it's entirely self-inflicted. And that's the truth. And that's why October 7th was so difficult for them, because it exposed, when they're going after children, innocents, when they did what they did, the raping, it's far too clear that their narrative is false. So they have to be extra stubborn on October the 8th. They had to go out and not only protest against Israel, but celebrate what happened on October 7th. They had to celebrate it because they need to find a way to justify it. It's sick. It's really sick. But you know what? The truth is becoming clearer and clearer. Certainly for Jews it is. There's a lot of October 8th Jews that woke up and realized that the whole Palestinian thing is a farce, it's a myth. It's not about genuine self-determination and statehood. If it really was, this would have been solved long ago. It's about the Jews living, thriving in their ancient homeland once again. So we should welcome the fact that people are becoming, at least sane people with their heads screwed on straight, are becoming more clear on what is true and what is false. And those who are digging their heels in more and more to the lies and nonsense are becoming more and more exposed. The fact that we had the Palestinian ambassador to the UK saying, look how Israel's targeted this residential building in Lebanon. It's disgraceful. It's a war crime. Meanwhile, we found out moments later it was where Nasrallah was. It's becoming clearer and clearer every day, every hour, of what is true and what is false. If you've made it so far in this video, I have a request for you. JTV has been having a really big impact in spreading the truth about Israel and creating positive associations with the Jewish people, Judaism, and Israel. We've really grown a lot, particularly in the last year, and we're having a really significant impact, both for Jews and non-Jews. But I really want to take JTV to the next level so we can start to compete with the other big online media beasts that are often peddling anti-Israel content. And the way we're going to do that is to scale even faster. So I'd love to build a team where we have other presenters doing shows like me. Let's start doing documentaries, supplementary content, animated content, etc., etc. And to do that, I'd like to build a bit of a team. So what we're going to do is we're going to do one fundraising day, just one, where we try and build up some funding in order to fund such a team. Now, to do that, it's going to obviously require people to get involved. And I'm wondering if you would consider, if you're watching JTV content and appreciate what we do and want to help partner with us in taking this to the next level and spreading the truth farther and wider than ever before, I wonder if you'd consider partnering with us simply by running a mini page on the fundraiser that we do, where you just reach out to your contacts on that day that we choose to fundraise and see if they'll all chip in. If you'd be up for doing that, of which I would be so grateful, then please click on the Google form link in the video description of this video, where you can simply just put in a few contact details. It'll be a very small commitment, as I say, literally just one day that we'll all agree upon as a collective community. But the impact is going to be so big. There's such strength in numbers. If we all pull together and do this, we can take this to the next level. And as I say, all of us can partner together in bringing and spreading the truth to the whole world. So please do consider clicking on that link, filling in the form, and I'll be in touch very soon to talk about the next steps. Small commitment, but a big impact. Hi, thank you so much for watching. To watch another one, click here. To stay up to date with all our content, click here to subscribe. And if you're able to, you can help support JTV to grow and grow by clicking join below this video, where you can become a member and get perks including early access to videos and private live discussions with me. But most of all, you'll be partnering with us on our mission to change the world.